We live on remembering and honoring the past, but always looking to the future. Goodbye, Kara, Supergirl. I'll miss you forever. Let's talk about the death of Supergirl and Crisis on Infinite Earths, number 7. Hey, what's going on, everybody? I'm Jesse, you're watching JLSComics, and welcome back to another Flashback review. If you saw my one last week, we talked about one of the Pieta covers for Uncanny X-Men, and I mentioned that I might be doing Crisis on Infinite Earths number 7, which is another one of those homage covers, and in fact, that's what we're going to talk about today. So, it came out in 1985. It's a George Perez, Marv Wolfman story, and it's pretty much right in the middle of a giant 12-part series by DC called Crisis on Infinite Earths. Like I said, 1985 it came out. But to kind of like talk about that, let's put it in a little bit of context for the year and what was going on. Actually, it came out on July 4th of 1985. The day before that was the day that Back to the Future came out. We had Live Aid concert for famine in Ethiopia that same month. And I don't remember the day, but there was an 8-hour period where George Bush, not the recent Bush, the Herbert Walker Bush, was president for like 8 days while Ronald Reagan was in surgery. The Atlantis took its maiden voyage, and the little 8-bit wonder known as the NES was released of 10/18 of 1985. We also had Krista McAuliffe. Took one of her flights. She was like the teacher, and had a family member actually who had her as an English teacher a long time ago. But if we talk about geopolitics and the landscape at the time, it was the Cold War, two superpowers going at each other, but it was a period of change. Things were starting to change. We had Gorbachev came into office, who really was promoting perestroika and glasnost. And Ronald Reagan started his second term, and this was the year when they first finally met. A couple days, there was Arthur Nicholson, who was a U.S. Army military intelligence officer. He was shot in West Germany, and that was actually the last casualty of the Cold War. So things started to change. Things were looking towards the future, and like that quote I mentioned in the beginning, you know, honoring and remembering the past, but looking forward towards the future. So that landscape was changing. We started to see heading towards the end of the Cold War. It was a very appropriate time for a story like this. So it worked out well for DC. So let's talk about the book. One of George Perez's favorite stories, cosplay this cover himself. It's very iconic cover. In fact, in 2007, this won DC's Best Cover of All Time award. So pretty impactful there. I think that everybody knows this cover, but maybe not everybody knows the story itself. So this was Crisis on Infinite Earths. This is issue 7. It was a 12-part, 12 issues. Went from April of 85 all the way to 1986. We also had Secret Wars 2 that began in July of this year. Secret Wars, the volume 1 was from 84 to 85. Secret Wars 2 started in July of 1987 as well. So we had Marv Wolfman writing, George Perez on art. The cover date on this is October of 1985, so 10/85. But this was actually in stores, as I mentioned, on July 4th of 1985. And the purpose of this whole entire arc was basically to combine DC's 50 years of continuity. It started to get really complicated and really convoluted with Earth 2, Earth 3, all the parallels. So they really wanted to sort of condense it all and simplify it. And really that's kind of what they were also doing with Convergence, also doing with Infinite Crisis, also with Final Crisis, also with Zero Hour, and also with Rebirth, right? So it explained the multiverse, which is something that we're going to touch on when we open the book up itself. But basically, we had the Anti-Monitor and the Monitor, and you know, some things happen. I'll explain it in here. It talks about it. We have Harbinger, we have Pariahs, also somebody we'll talk about in here. And as you can tell from the cover, we might have some shocking events here. But I will say the next issue, number 8, features another well-known death from this series, which was the death of Barry Allen. And that's touched on in Rebirth, the one-shot special. So let's take a look at the story itself. Double-sized shocker. So it is really thick. I'll give you a close-up of this here. Remember George Perez talking about this cover and saying he got all of the characters, the entire DC universe in here, except, and I believe it was Green Lantern. For some reason, he was not able to fit Green Lantern in here. And I'm looking, and I'm looking, and I don't see a Green Lantern. So, interesting little factoid, little tidbit there of information. So it opens up, and we have Pariah talking to some people here out in space. And basically, you know, it's a calm before. So what's happening here is, you know, we had Monitor and Anti-Monitor, and they're both part of like a universe, and an evil universe. And basically, the Anti-Monitor wanted to destroy these things, and they pretty much destroyed everything except like 5 remaining universes. And they went kind of like into their own like sort of pocket protective area. And basically they're all kind of like converging on each other, and they're going to combine, and they're slowly, you know, getting on each other here. So that's kind of where we're left here. So it's, yeah, 5 Earths remain. There are representatives of 6 universes, so we have to let them know too. And then they talk, and they just kind of like touch on some, like the people that they're going to pull. So they go to the different universes. You have a space castle, or a headquarters there, and it goes to Earth 2, and you got Earth 4 with Blue Beetle there, and Pariah's there. It's a sort of a protective limbo where these universes are. And here they are. So they got 5 Earths, separated vibration slowly coming together. 5 Earths with displaced time. And there they are. So they're pulling everybody in. And then we get to the splash page, where we get introduced to these 5 heroes here. So we have Lady Quark, we have Superman of Earth 1, Uncle Sam, the embodiment of hope and peace, Captain Marvel, Superman from Earth 2, and Blue Beetle, the comedic relief. He's like, can we get on with this? Can the who's who? All right. And then, of course, we have Pariah up here, who's talking to them. And basically explaining what happened. So basically, and I'll tell you kind of what happened here. So 10 billion years ago, when Earth was just gases, it wasn't even a planet yet, there was a planet called Oa, and there were a bunch of immortals there. And the Oans were, you know, peaceful, but extremely, extremely powerful. They had sort of a paradise there. They could do things with their minds and their bodies. They were superheroes themselves. And then you had another guy here. His name is Krona. And he really wanted to use his power for sort of twisted purposes. So he was like the bad guy there. And he made a little contraption here. So it says, then it happened, a terrible cosmic bolt splintered his machine, and it destroyed Krona, and something immortal, something evil grew out of that. And it says, the universe shuddered, and the evil antimatter universe was formed. And at that moment was born the antimatter universe and the multiverse. So the Earth and all the planets were duplicated, and only one was not, and that was Oa. And talking about going back and forth, Krona, he made like this army of like, you know, bad guys. There was a race of robot manhunters, see here. And he abandoned those, and they first created a race of robot manhunters. They abandoned the machines and recruited living creatures. The Oans' own energy was fed to a power battery. These are the good ones. And each of their warriors was given a ring with which they could tap that power. So was born the GLC. the Green Lantern Corps. So I thought that was interesting. So then you have one of the Owens here and Krona fighting. There was a civil war between them. And again, this was eons ago, before the Earth was even formed. So then they coordinate antimatter and positive matter, both with newly created satellites. See, from the split, from the Civil War. So on the antimatter side, creature, blasphemous parody of humanity was born, with dark and evil in that universe, and that was born the Anti-Monitor. And then the Owens on the moon of Oa over here, because they had destroyed each other pretty much completely, the Monitor was formed. So the evil side was the Anti-Monitor, the good side was the Monitor. And the Anti-Monitor weaned off the evil of the universe and grew it. He had all this power and all this energy. And at the start of this, he sent off his demons. They're called shadow demons that the heroes were all fighting on Earth. So that's kind of how it started. And he had all the power in the universe. And he's like, but I want something else. I want something more than that. He was power hungry. And he finally realized that he had sort of a doppelganger, his polar opposite. And that was the Monitor. So then they started fighting. And that's them fighting. Until a simultaneous attack rendered them both immobile and unconscious. And that's where they remained for 9 billion years. And then Superman's like, so what freed them? What freed the Anti-Monitor, the evil one? And then Pariah goes, I did. And he said, in freeing him, you see, I set loose a force which has destroyed 1,000 universes. So he was basically like another guy who was like looking for power, extremely, weather control. His planet was extremely powerful and everything, and the Pariah, that is, and basically it led to the destruction of his planet. And he was looking for things. He's a scientist, a brilliant scientist. So he made this machine in his laboratory so he could discover the secrets of other universes. And so he made this like Anti-Monitor chamber where he could look in and see what was happening at the beginning of other universes' creations. And he just went into it. He walked into the chamber, but without realizing that the Anti-Monitor in the chamber would react to the matter, the positive matter in his body. And everything was destroyed. And when that was destroyed, the Anti-Monitor was released. And he immediately knew what he wanted, and his power grew to fill up the void. Nothing could stop him. So the Monitor created a ship, and he wouldn't be stuck on Oa, so he was able to fly around. So that's when kind of started recruiting all the heroes to fight the Anti-Monitor. And they kept destroying the planets. Boom, 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 kept going down. So death, right there. Okay, so then the Earths close in. 5 universes will soon appear as one, and when they occupy the same space, they will destroy each other, and the Anti-Monitor's universe will be all that remains. So then the heroes are here, and they're like, okay, yeah, we're convinced. That sounds pretty serious. Let's go get this guy. So what do? So he creates a portal. The universe opens like a biblical parting of the Crimson Sea, and behind him 5 universes, and in front of them, the unknown. So they go through this portal that he makes, and they fly right through it, and they just end up in this other place, and it feels just like evil. It says their interuniversal membrane is ruptured, and boom, they find his headquarters, his castle, the Anti-Monitor, and they fly up on it. They get multiple Supermans, Wonder Woman, Firestorm, Supergirl, Pariah, Spectre, Captain Marvel, or not Captain Marvel, but all these super powerful heroes here. They fly up on it like, this is too easy. And all of a sudden the place becomes alive and starts attacking them. And then you got this guy down here named, what is it? Psycho something. I forget his name. because it doesn't say his name here. But he can like control people's emotions and stuff. So he'd actually controlled some of the heroes, and they were fighting. So then they're fighting, and boom, 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 and Anti-Monitor is like super powerful. He's beating up. He makes Superman bleed. He's that powerful. And he gets knocked down. And then Supergirl gets really pissed off and starts fighting him too. And he's like, what do we do? These people can't be stopped. So then there's a giant battle that ensues. And they're fighting. And they find like the chamber. There's like a core for it. And he blasts it. Superman does. And so Superman's down. And then Kara, Supergirl's like, no, I gotta do something. She's like, you know, Supergirl rushes ahead knowing full well what could bring her pain because her cousin's down. He's down. But Supergirl's a hero, and her cousins are not for herself, her concerns. That's why she's a hero. So then they fight, and then she keeps beating on the Anti-Monitor. And they're fighting, and he's like, you know what he's like, stop, you're gonna destroy my shell, my body shell, because it's holding, and he's basically energy. So then they're fighting, and he's like, I can't wait any longer. So then she goes right up on him, boom, and she's like, it's over, you hear me? She's so mad. And then that happens, and Superman cries out, Kara! And it's a really sad moment they have. So 5 universes are frozen in space and time. Not fully merged, not wholly apart, but for now out of danger. And then he flies off. He's got his cape around her. He flies her off into space. And thus the death of Supergirl. And here's the quote I said at the beginning. So really good story. Basically, you know, what happens next is the villains all kind of unite around Brainiac. They enter this limbo where the 5 planets are. Barry Allen's killed. Anti-Monitor travels back in time, basically to prevent the creation of the multiverse. Spectre unites all the heroes and people against Anti-Monitor while the Earths are still converging and everything. It's a good story. I really like this. There's a lot in here. It's a double-sized issue. A lot of writing, a lot of exposition, but yet a lot of action. So I think it's a good balance there. A lot happens here. So I recommend this. I recommend this series as well. And again, as I've said with some others in the past, not very expensive book at all. You know, you can pick this up for maybe somewhere $5 to $15 depending on condition. So should check it out, look for it. If nothing else, it is a iconic cover to have in your collection. And out of 5 stars, I'm gonna give this one 4 stars. I really liked it. But for it to make sense, it doesn't stand alone by itself. You kind of have to have the entire thing for it to make sense. So that's why I dropped it down a couple notches. You know, for me, it gets an extra at least half a point if the story is self-contained. And this, you need the whole thing for it to make complete sense. Even though they do a good job of explaining a lot of the backstory. So 4 stars out of 5, but really good, really iconic. So let me know if you've read it. Let me know what you think down below. I'd be curious to hear that, or rather read that. And if this is your first time stopping by, go check out the other ones I have here for the reviews on you know, issues from you know, years past. And I got plenty coming up as well, so look forward to those. Also have some hauls coming up. The live show is coming up next Tuesday. I'm hoping to have a guest for that, as well as, you know, some really good topics already for some stuff that's come up in the news. So a few things to look forward to. Go ahead and hit that subscribe button, and welcome aboard. You know, come join the fun here. So enjoy the rest of your weekends, and I'll see you guys soon.